What's going on, guys? It is the Bad Wolf. Let's get into it. I want to thank all the Loves, Lovets, Wilsons, Drumgools, Pickett's, Johnsons, Smith, McCoy, all the people who are directly related to me. Those are Lawsons. Those are all the people at the family reunions that I remember. So I want to say I love all of you guys and appreciate you. God bless everybody, or may whatever God or entity you believe in, or the lack thereof. If you believe in nothing, then I hope that you're nothing, nothingly, nothing's you. So there's that. I'm just feeling a lot better, guys. As always, I tell you guys the truth about what I'm going through, or whatever else. It's been a little rough. Had a sinus infection. It's over now. My body's still kind of a little fatigued from it. I told you guys another video that I had heat stroke a couple of weeks ago, so it kind of damaged me a lot. Just not paying attention to things. It does happen. So stay hydrated. Get your electrolytes. I do recommend getting an electrolyte powder off of Amazon. That you will find is better to me than coffee in the morning, and a little bit before you go to sleep at night will improve your life. But as always, seek out your medical professional for any medical advice. This is not what this is. This is just my personal experience. As well, if you see anybody using any of my materials, please report them in their video for defamation of character, slandering, bullying, and all the other things up there. To the rest of you guys, hit that bell, like, subscribe. Thank you, and welcome to the tribe. Now, let's get into it. So this particular video is for the state of Florida right to travel. A key piece when you buy my files to help you out with your court case and whatever else, if you've done it correctly, don't be half stepping. Watch my videos on right to travel. That doesn't mean that even if you do it right, that um, some law enforcement thug or some policy enforcer who doesn't know constitutional law, which supersedes the state law, and these are your private rights, may not still bother you. But that in itself is a federal offense. They're violating your right to interstate transportation or interstate commerce, to operate privately as foreign to their system when done properly. But you have to do every step, or you're not. But the one key piece that a lot of people need to push their case over, it's not only just getting my files and putting together all of it correctly and doing it correctly, but you need to find your state's legislative code which puts your case over the top. And all of them have it. But here's the secret. If you look for it in your state and you don't find it under non-resident registration, non-resident vehicle, private vehicle registration, foreign vehicle registration, vehicle exemptions. If you look up those things in your state and you do not find anything on there and you're doing right to travel, the lack of them having a law, a legislative law, a statutory or a code on it means you can use the fact that they have a lack of one for you. They can't regulate then something they don't talk about. And they can't regulate anything private, foreign, or non-resident unless you register it to them. So let's take a look at Florida and see what their code says. Now, do we have to abide 100% by their code? No, no. What they're saying is they have to talk about it a little bit so that if you're doing it and give you the ability as a non-resident to then register your stuff so that you can come in. So they have to talk about it a little, but they can't constrain your constitutional rights. They can't tell somebody from another jurisdiction who's in the same geographical area but not operating in the state. Now, what does that mean? What does it all mean, Basil? Well, on the legal level, there's a little trick that they play. See, within this Florida state area, which is the ground and constitutional in the republic, known as the Floridians, there's a invisible paper jurisdiction that operates in the same geographical area, but these are two separate jurisdictions floating in the same area. The land is your constitutional rights as a private citizen, non-resident, okay? And then over it is the U.S. citizen, and this is the state of Florida. Florida state, the real thing, state of Florida, for-profit on-paper corporation, U.S. citizen, public. When your all caps name is, well, made into all caps, which is called transmutation or transmuting the name, you then get elevated from the private to the public. Once you do that, I'll do it this way. I guess it looks better than this. All right. Once you do that, you get put into this. Everything you have underneath your name becomes public, publicly administered. And when you mess up, they penalize you for it. They can't do that when you're in the private unless you've done something criminal. So here they have some things that are quasi-criminal in court. Oops, did I give that away? Because they're mainly supposed to be statutory, but they've got what they call quasi-criminal. True criminal is supposed to be done in the federal court where you can get your rights and your freedoms either given or taken away. So working within the statutory jurisdiction of the state of Florida, they have to have some kind of indication about where the line between the public and the private meet, and that's where the term non-resident comes into. A non-resident is a individual or an entity that's not registered in their database. They can't find the name, which is why we create private trusts. It's not a secret illegal thing or something crazy and jazzy. Oh man. No, these are your constitutional rights as a Floridian or New Yorker, California, Wisconsinite, Arizonan, whatever, under GPO Style Manual, Section 5.23. Look it up. The government printed that, not me. It's their stuff. See, a lot of people don't like what I do in general, but other people don't like what I do because I focus on how to teach you guys to understand their world, because when you're in France, you speak French. So if you're going to deal with their world, which is all around us, you need to speak their terms. These people want to create new terms. Well, I'm a Landinian, on the land, national American, or whatever they come up with. That's fine in the private, but they're not going to take you seriously. You have to beat them at their own game. If you're playing chess with the devil, you have to move your piece as the devil would move it. Speak the devil's language. When you go home in the private, you can do whatever you want to do. It's fine. Call yourself a Cuisinarch. I don't care. But if you're going to deal with these people and you want to beat them at their own game, you don't have to win their respect. You just have to win the event. You have to speak their language. You have to know what they're talking about. So I digress. Let's take a look at what Florida has to say about the non-resident. Now, remember, if you lived in Florida your entire life, you're a Floridian and also a national by law. But they asked you at some point in time to go home and get a piece of mail for your bank account or to vote or whatever it was. And what did the lady say to you? Oh, you need to prove residency. So I need to prove that I live here? No, you need to prove that you have a legal name and that you're of age to enter into their paper world and jurisdiction, leaving the private willingly. Registering your name to vote was not only to vote, but to become regarded as a U.S. citizen in their paper world. I had the guy at the post office explain this to me years ago. And then I've done my own research to confirm what he said was true and then expounded upon it. When you enter into their world, your name now has become tainted. You generally are no longer construed with your normal name in all caps to be a private person, or rather a private citizen. They actually use the word private person. We don't use that. Private citizen. Even I know people don't like the word citizen, neither do I, but that's how they speak. Private person is still their property. You're just private in the public. Private is a private citizen. Once you do that, now everything that's underneath your name, and I mean everything, is tainted. There is no putting a little piece of dog shit in a cake or a muffin and saying, well, just eat around that part. No, the whole thing by lowest common denominator is tainted. That's once again why we create private things, because anything not registered to them or in their database is private. Private equals foreign. So you went from being a Floridian, and you still have the title Floridian. That has never gone anywhere. but you don't know how to use it now because you have to create and show them that you are the age of majority and that you are competent over the age of 18 to now know what's going on, to create something private. They will never get rid of your name in their database. You have to either abandon or properly common law change your name, separating the straw man, the living from the dead, the private from the public, tax exempt, taxable. You have to separate that. Something that almost nobody I've ever even seen talk about this. You need to really separate the straw man. So when somebody wealthy creates a private trust made with a foreign name and it's set up right, that's what they're doing. They're separating themselves from the straw man. So your citizenship and nationality are two separate things. U.S. citizen and Floridian. How do I know that? I'm glad you asked. That's under 8 FAM 301.1-1, letter B, where it states clearly in the United States, U.S. citizenship and nationality are two separate things, unlike other countries. So here we differentiate between the two. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Department of State, for watching my videos and changing the code to the appropriate code. Spot on job. You have two separate things going on. You can use either one of them. One is public, one is private. U.S. citizen, public, business entity, legal person of the United States, corporation, UCC 9-307, letter H, location of the debtor. Private citizen, national of the United States, state citizen, 8 U.S.C. 1401A, 8 U.S.C. 1101A 22B. GPO style manual, 2000, 2008, 2016, any one of the manuals, section 5.23. The natives of the several states will be known by the following forms: Floridian, Californian, Alaskan. Those are two separate things legally. What I teach you guys, and the reason why a lot of these people don't understand is because I learned these things on the legal level. There's nothing deeper than what I've learned, but there's also a lot of people, judges, lawyers, and police officers, and whoever else, who don't know this information. This is why we continue to beat them, because we are using the law correctly. But most of you guys have never learned it, nor were we ever really supposed to need this. They were supposed to just be nice and help us, but most of them aren't. Some of them are. So now that you know what's really going on, you have two separate things. You have two different hats. You cannot be the same one in any one event. You have both, but you have to, it's like electronics, which I'm also an engineer in. Zeros or ones, computer language, either a zero or one. You can't 0-1 it at the same time, one or the other. You can only be one or the other, public or private, in any one event. And if you have their plates on or you're a police officer, you are public at that time. When you go home, you're private. But technically, none of your stuff is private unless it's in a private entity. Because your house is registered underneath your name, and that's registered to the county, so you pay taxes on it because it's public. Your name is public. You register yourself to vote. You went to the bank and you said, I want a bank. I'm a U.S. citizen. You've been telling them across the board that you're their property. As a U.S. citizen, you are their property, and the janitor in the United States doesn't get almost any lower. I mean, that's why foreign people come here, or people create a business, and it actually has more power and position than a U.S. citizen. But as a national and a state citizen, a Floridian, New Yorker, Wisconsinite, Californian, we the people are in play. We are truly them, the sovereigns, and we are their boss. This is their greatest secret, or one of many. So now that you know the scheme, let's take a look at what Florida has to say about these non-residents. Cue the video, please. There we go. There we go. Daddy likey. Daddy likey. All right, so let's take a look. So the 2024 Florida statutes, including 2025 special session C, Okay, so this says here, official internet site of the Florida registration. Remember, anytime you see the word of, you're not getting the real thing. All right, but apparently, though this is powered by online sunshine, you guys crack me up. This site looks like it's from like the very first websites ever made, but okay. But you can see up here it does say legislative state Florida US, so it is legit. Every state has one of these or should, and if they don't, you can use that against them. But what you want to do, if you're going to do right to travel, is copy your state's version of this page right here and have it in your travel binder. Highlight the section that applies. Keep a copy at home. Use this in court. Watch my court case videos on jamesclovett.com. I have all of that on there now. You want to know what people pay me a lot of money? Well, I guess 100, what, 120, I think, 30 bucks an hour. For some people, that's a lot. For some people, that ain't nothing. I've got students who actually charge more than me now. But when you do a consultation with me, and this is some of the information I give you, we find your state's information right here. These are gem drops right here. If you want to learn how to break down your own court case, you want to know how to operate in court, the traps and tricks that they're going to try to pull, well, I put those into my jamesclovett.com videos. So go to jamesclovett.com and you can search through and see all those videos for private citizens only. So what does it say here? When non-resident exemption, not allowed. The provisions of S320.37 authorizing the operation of a motor vehicle over the roads of this state by non-residents of this state. Now, what are they doing right here? They're making a lot of presumptions. See, the owner of the vehicle gets to determine what it is. If your vehicle's registered, it's then considered commercial because that's what a motor vehicle is. It's a commercial vehicle over the roads of this state. Well, the state really doesn't, it's the trustee of the roads, but we paid for the roads. These are our roads, they're not yours. You maintain them for us with our money. They're not your roads. They're open to the public and the private. If they were just their roads, then they would have full say so. And then only registered licensed drivers could use them and nobody foreign could use them without paying them because that's what they would do. So they're making assumptions here. By non-residents, and non-residents are anybody who's not, or an entity who's not, or that of which is not registered to them. Or you if you create your own affidavit of being a non-resident, you then go back to being a non-resident. Doesn't mean you still can't operate as a U.S. citizen. You're just saying that when you display your affidavit of nationality, you are then who you present yourself to be. This is why you should have an affidavit of being a non-resident in your vehicle, in your travel binder of this state. When such vehicles are duly registered or licensed under the laws of some other state. Now, what do they mean here? Lowercase s here for the word state. They're talking about not only a different state, but they're talking about the state just means a group or gathering of something or of people, of entities. It really means an association. So your trust is a state. Your private irrevocable trust, your unincorporated association, your 508c1a, your unregistered business trust, those are all states. Some other state, a state of existence. And in those things, you should have your vehicle registered or create, if you want to be technical, your own license to operate and have your vehicle registered to it. You have the right to do that privately. They do not hold the complete market on all things registered or licensed unless you go to them. You can do it yourself privately from your own entity. They did it. They created their own entity and then issued registration abilities and licenses. You can do the same thing. You can nearly do everything that they have done. Nearly. The laws of some other state or foreign country. Your nation, your tribe is a foreign country. Do not apply to any non-resident who accepts employment. So what they're saying is you can be private, but if you accept employment, which I've said on the passport, employment is their word. So, but listen to what they're saying. You can be a non-resident, but if, say, your entity, your trust starts to do business, or you employ your business to do work, it has then become, as a non-resident, something private. It has engaged in employment, or it has engaged in a trade, which they own that word, profession, they own that word, or occupation, which is why we avoid these words on the passport, N-A, 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 in, here's a key word, in, so now we're transporting, we're transferring. Where? Into their paper state. Doesn't say the geographical area because they don't own that, but in to their paper state, you just became their property when you did that. Otherwise, you are exempt. You are exempt if you operate properly. So here, 320.37, registration not to apply. So your registration does not apply to non-residents. Under what provisions? So for Florida, this is your code. The provision of this chapter related to the requirement for registration of a motor vehicle. Once again, they're presuming you're doing things commercial. Now, why can't they talk about a private vehicle? Because they always, like the thirsty guy at bar close, want to presume that you're going home with them. They want to presume, and if you don't rebut that your private vehicle, and only the only person who can declare something that is yours to be something different is you. If you register your private vehicle, it becomes a motor vehicle. But they're always going to talk and speak in their favor, just like the IRS. This does not apply to me. I do not have a motor vehicle. My vehicle's been made private. It's held in my private micronation and government. I have an affidavit stating that I'm operating as a non-resident when I'm in my private conveyance. I'm not a U.S. citizen and I'm not a motor vehicle owner. So the provision of this chapter, the requirement of registration of motor vehicles and display of license number plates do not apply to a motor vehicle. Once again, they have to use their words. If that motor vehicle, which means commercial, but that's how they talk, is owned by a non-resident. Because if it's owned by a non-resident, that vehicle could be a motor vehicle, could be a commercial vehicle from another jurisdiction. So that's what they're assuming. This is an assumption. But if it's a non-resident, it could be a private vehicle, but they're not going to cover that part. They're just going to say, well, look, if you're a non-resident, it means you're not registered to us. And then we assume that the vehicle that you have is registered somewhere else for commercial purposes. I mean, who owns a private vehicle? By a non-resident of this state, meaning you're in their area, if the owner thereof has complied with the provisions of the motor vehicle registration or licensing laws of the foreign country, your micronation, the state, an association that they do not own or control, the territory, another place that they don't control, private, unincorporated, or federal district of the owner's residence, residence, which would be your DOT number. And conspicuously displays. What they're saying here is that you need to make your plate look different. I'll say it. I'll put myself out there. My bitch ass, when I first made my plate, I made it very much look like to hide a little bit. I made it look similar. You should not be making your plate look like something you are not. You should not be making your plate look exactly like the state. Your plate should look conspicuously, obviously different, and conspicuously displays his or her registration number as required thereby, meaning your information, your plate, your whatever else should be visible. When you do everything right, you don't have to hide your VIN, even as a private traveler. Let them run the VIN. They're going to see that it's registered to something private. This does not mean at the fuck at all that you can do like racing or speeding or go on a military base or tease the police, because under public safety, they can still yank your passport, impound your car. You'll get it back later, but it's going to be a whole lot of him and han, a lot of money and time. So don't be a belligerent or combatant. I do not sanction that. I have friends and family in Florida and many other states. I do not want dumb people, because there's already enough dumb people out there as it is. Yeah, I said it. I am definitely not afraid. I didn't say all people, but we all know somebody dumb, even hell, even at our job, even in our family. Dumb. I am not afraid to say it. Some of y'all might bite your tongue. Wait till you guys catch me on my other YouTube channel, Badwolf Unlimited. There's a reason why I'm calling it Unlimited. I'm calling people out. I am an American. I am not afraid of you. I'm going to say what I got to say. Everybody wants to give a trophy to everybody. No, you don't get a trophy. Trophies for excellence. If you didn't do excellent, then try again. Try harder. Or maybe this ain't your thing. I'll say it. Everybody wants to be afraid to say it. Everybody's equal. No, not everybody ain't equal. I got friends with bigger muscles than me and smaller muscles. People who make more money than me and less. I'm okay with that. If I want what they got, I got to work for it. I should just be given it. No, you should not just be given. You haven't earned anything. Most of the people who say that haven't even been on this planet long enough to know what pain and suffering is, or what it's like to work for something and to have your car, house, or whatever else destroyed, lost, or on fire, and or whatever else, and to work for it. I want. Work for it. Every normal business transaction, you got to give something to get something. Two people or two entities or a person and an entity coming together or more or less, and everybody's going to get a benefit out of it. Get the fuck out of here with that trash. Get real. Most of y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all grown. Some of the other cats, I'm not saying not to go out and get yours, but I'm just saying, like, you don't just deserve something because you showed up. So, what else does it say? The exemption granted by this section does not apply to. So, they're saying this is an exemption. So, if everybody is doing right to travel in Florida, this is your exemption right here. Does not apply to a foreign corporation. Wait, what? Keep reading. Doing business in this state. If they can find your trust or that's why I tell you, you have to have more than one trust, more than one religious entity, more than one whatever. If you get an EIN from the state, not the government, that's foreign and private to the state. So they're capitalizing that if you get a foreign company, but then by doing business, getting an EIN from the state, you're then found in the state, which means you've essentially waived your foreign rights and freedoms to a large degree because you've registered it, because you're doing business in their state. If they can find your entity on paper, gotcha, bitch. Motor vehicles, once again, that's an assumption, but operating for hire. So if you're using your vehicle, your private conveyance or a motor vehicle, foreign or whatever else, but you're operating it for hire to their public, their U.S. citizens, well, then you've brought in your whole shebang into their jurisdiction on paper, including any motor vehicle used in transporting agricultural or horticultural products or supplies if such vehicles otherwise meets the definition of a foreign vehicle. So they look at it. So when you revert to your car, your private conveyance, you guys better be telling the officer it's a foreign vehicle under 320.37 and show him this article along with your other stuff. I wouldn't have my address on anything because he's going to try to form joinder with your address and name. FYI, legal gem drop there. And whatever, what else does not apply? Recreational vehicles. So they must own the word recreational. Oh, wait a minute. Look at the RE. Anytime you see the RE, you're redoing something. You, the living, are have a creation of vehicle. But when it's recreational, you've brought it from the private as your creation into their world with the RE. Register, residence, you're redoing something, which means to leave one and go to another. So your recreational vehicle, if so titled, or mobile home. Now look at the now watch the switch. Not physically located. They don't say anything about physically or geographically located within Florida state. They're saying here that if your vehicle is called a recreational vehicle or you call it a mobile home and it's located on paper by you in their state for 6 months, then this doesn't apply to you. You're not exempt after 6 months. Commercial vehicles, as defined, well, yeah, if it's commercial, it's either the states or another states. And if you're in their state too long with the commercial vehicle, they might want their taxes and things. This is how the legal level, not normal court, not normal law. Normal law would interpret this information to us, well, everything in there, unless you can, prove that you're not a resident. But this is how the legal level, when I talk about the legal level, that means intrinsically, what does not the word, were you driving to work? Yeah, well, yeah, I was. And then me as his counsel would say, no, I object. The word drive by Black Law's dictionary refers to the fact he was doing commerce for profit. He was not. He was actually in a private conveyance at the time, and his vehicle is not registered to the state. The legal level means what does the word mean by law? Its full definition. When the officer's like, oh, well, you were driving kind of fast. He's basically saying, so admit to me that you broke the law because you were speeding by statute as a member of ours, and that you were commercially doing something because you have our plates on, which is for commercial purposes. That's what he's really saying on the legal level of overstanding the law on the legal level. Not there's the law, and then there's the perception of the law, and then there's the legal level, which is why all these places, municipalities, courthouses, and whatever else, the state itself, companies, all have a legal department or access to an attorney. Do you know how many times people have used my paperwork and then the police station or the courthouse or whoever we're filing a lawsuit against or whatever have sent their information to their attorney and they said, drop it immediately? Because that attorney, that lawyer, that legal department understand that that information is reflecting the true level of the legal department, a legal determination by law, which is why I'm an attorney in fact. A turn means to turn over, and facts are facts. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a member of the bar. Don't want to be. Was going to be. Was offered that by a judge in court, personally, to my face. To my face. At first, I wanted to be one of them. I'll be honest. That's how I got here. Why do you think I'm so good at this? I studied all their stuff. I want to be one of them. But apparently I was too smart or not good enough or whatever their excuses were. And then now they want me in my finest Dr. Evil voice. No, no, Scotty, no, no. Why don't you and the laser get a freaking room? No. But also no disrespect. It's just business, guys. So that being the case, you now overstand that what I teach you guys, the reason why a lot of them don't understand is because they don't know what you're talking about. They literally don't. And their bosses who know what's going on tell them, oh, those people are just crazy. Don't listen to them. But see, here's the thing to the officers, lawyers, attorneys, judges, and all the rest of the people who don't know this information. It's because it's called compartmentalization. They want you to be able to focus on doing your job. And they want you to be traitors and be held to treason if ever tried under some of the things that you've done because you're violating the Constitution. You have the right to penalize and go after your own members, but if and when those members ever, before, during, or after, invoke constitutional law and rights, that's where the buck stops. The states are not sovereign, though they would like to believe that they are, but then they also hate the word and they don't want us to operate in the sovereign capacity. But I've got 3 documents that give me more power than any state and any government and the government, and it's right here. Because we, the people, are governed by our consent, which means if we allow you to govern over us with our consent, then you're not really our governing body now, are you? Because we can pull the consent at any point in time, if and when we know what our capacities are and how to invoke our rights and walk just as a living being in our proper capacity, or waive that to be a member of yours, public or private, U.S. citizen or national, or state citizen or non-resident, whatever you want to go with, or foreign national, whatever. That's it, guys. That's it. Go do something fun. But if you want to help out, hit that bell icon, subscribe, and watch the next couple of videos that are going on. And don't forget to check out jamesclovett.com. Don't worry, I didn't get rid of Black Site 32. It's still there. But this is my second site. Y'all wanted me to expand. Y'all wanted more information. Y'all wanted some of the private stuff. Well, then go check out Black Site 32 and especially jamesclovett.com. I'll talk to you guys later. Blessings, positive energy. Have a great day, guys. Good health.